And there's something to be said for being loyal. But there's a difference between being loyal and being, ready for it, being comfortable. And the Dallas Cowboys seem comfortable. The Dallas Cowboys seem to like comfortable. In a world of disruption, which is a good thing, it hurts. It's a punch in the nose. We all know it. We all live it. We do. But in a world of disruption, the present-day Dallas Cowboys are a company that I can't even. Sears isn't fair. I'm not going to do the Sears thing. I'm trying to figure out what. Have you ever worked somewhere where you know it's comfortable and it's probably not a good idea? You ever feel like we probably need some disruption? That's the Cowboys. They were in dire need of disruption. They're in an industry of disruption. All constant disruption. But they are the company that sticks to the same product line, the same advertising strategy, and most importantly, the same vision with the same employees and the same people. Right? Your granddad would love it. Not so great for business, though. The problem is the NFL is a disruption business. You can't operate the same way. You're constantly, and this is a cool thing, this is what keeps us coming back, but this is what's healthy with any industry, any company, honestly. You're constantly having to reinvent yourself or you just get left behind. You constantly have to have new vision. Okay? That's the NFL. That's what's fun. That was the purpose of it. Right? Think of it always, I tell you this often, but think of it as a run of 3 years, always in 3-year increments. The Kansas City Chiefs, for example, just to point out the difference between being comfortable, the Cowboys, and a disruptor like the Chiefs. And I know I think you're going to be wrong. I know what people do. Yeah, but Jeff, the Cowboys don't have Patrick Mahomes. That's not it. That's not accurate. Yeah, I know he's great. I mean, I got that. But I don't think that's not the only difference. Surely I can argue this. So the Kansas City Chiefs have turned over almost completely turned over their roster, and they win. They have won with a flashy offense, and then they've won with a boring offense, relatively boring. Look, they scored less than 26 points a game, even the playoffs. And they won with defense. They won with defense and kicking. They won in very boring ways. They constantly reinvent themselves. Their offense had almost complete turnover in a lot of spots, and they turned around and found a different way to win. The Green Bay Packers, they blow themselves up, and they got ripped for it. People thought it was crazy. What a move. Who pushes Aaron Rodgers out the door? Who tells him to get lost? Who in their right mind would make that deal? They blow themselves up and send a first ballot Hall of Famer out the door to make way for a new, more dangerous team. I would say one of the 5 most dangerous teams going into next year in the entire NFL, and they did it with a completely new look. They completely reinvented themselves, no matter what the critics said, no matter how uncomfortable it was. And they have a new look, completely dynamic. The Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens go from winning with defense for several years, defense and kicking, great kicking, to winning with flashy offense in a span of 2 years. They completely reinvented themselves. They completely readjusted how they play, and they'll do it again, and they'll do it again, and you do it all the time. You're constantly turning over your roster to find different ways to win, okay? But the Dallas Cowboys are their owner. That's what it is. You know what? And for all the things said about him, this is something I think that people don't really want to hear, but they are Jerry Jones. They're old and out of touch. And they're going to sit there and get older and more out of touch. They just sit there. They don't even seem capable of disruption. The funny thing, although it's not funny if you're a Cowboys fan, the interesting part is when Jerry Jones took over the Cowboys and fired Tom Landry, the same thing to a degree was going on with the Cowboys at the time. Under Landry, the most innovative person football has ever known, in my opinion. I don't think it's stated often enough how the Cowboys under Landry changed the entire sport. Everything about it. What you see today is because of them. But it got old. They didn't disrupt anymore. They weren't different. They didn't have new ideas. It was stale. It was out of touch. It was old. That's when Jones took over. But Jones disrupting is just not the way he operates. Dallas has had a few moments of disruption since Jerry Jones bought the team. I want you to think about this because what they've done the last week and a half tells you everything. But they've had a few moments of disruption when he took over the team. He bought a team that was old and out of touch under Landry. He fires Landry, replaces him with a cocky disruptor. Jimmy Johnson was a complete wrecking ball, a total disruptor. He immediately disrupted the league. And he immediately disrupted the league with the trade of the century. He knew, I've got to turn this thing over in a hurry. I've got to do something dramatic. I've got to completely disrupt. And it was the trade of the century. Jerry Jones disrupted that in the worst way, of course, by sending him out the door. But since then, and I'm trying to think of times where Jones was a disruptor, when it for good or bad. I mean, it's not either. He just sits there. The only sign of disruption was replacing Tony Romo with Dak Prescott, but that's not really a disruption because Tony Romo physically was done by that time. Jones was forced into disruption because Tony Romo was physically broken down. There's not been coaching disruptions. There's not been personnel disruptions. I mean, there's stupid PR moves, but I'm talking about strategic disruptions. The guts to change. The ability to see and just completely reinvent yourself on a fly. Doesn't happen. Okay? You want proof the game is passing the old man up? You want proof? Right now, the Dallas roster, as I've said, is very good. It was much better than getting knocked out of the playoffs in one game. Everybody knows that now. But the Dallas roster is very good. It's arguably at its peak. I mean, it's about to start coming down. You only peak every now and then unless you reinvent yourself. So the Dallas roster is at its peak. They have a top 6 quarterback, I would argue. They have a top 6 offensive line. They have a top 5 or better wide receiver. A top 3 pass rusher, a top 5 secondary, a top 3 kicker. I mean, they're close, right? They're upper echelon. They're at their roster peak right now. And what does the old man do? What does he do? What has he been doing? For all the sensitivity, for all the get off our case, you don't get it, people. That's basically the position the old man has taken. Get off our case, everyone. You don't understand how the economics of the NFL works. That's bull. Compare them to the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Packers. Compare those disruptors to the Cowboys. And all he's doing is whining and pointing fingers back at the public for saying, what are you doing, old man? So guess what happens? Guess what the old man does to get over the hump, to take this roster that's close, that's at its peak, needs a little bit more. He does what is completely comfortable. He does in his mind, right? In his mind, he does the most comfortable thing he can think of. He doesn't disrupt anything. He doesn't disrupt his coach for sure. He signs a way past his prime running back. You know why? Because he likes him. And he's comfortable. There. Get off our case, everyone. We fixed it. Oh, really? All Jerry Jones knows in the last several years at this stage, all he knows is the way things used to be. That's the way it looks. It's kind of the way it sounds. I mean, you want to debate this? I'm happy to debate. That's the way it looks and sounds. They're like, you work at an old business, old company, old industry, and man, we are dead man walking because we don't do anything different. Everyone's been at that place before. If not, you're lucky. You're lucky. It sucks to be part of a disruption, but It's the only way to stay on top. And the old man has just done, after all the criticism. What are you going to do, Dallas? What are you going to do? Everybody else is moving. Everybody else is reinventing. Everybody else is turning stuff over. The Chiefs find a new way to win all the time. The Packers shove out a Hall of Famer. They're not afraid. What are you doing, old man? He is signing Ezekiel Elliott. That's it. That's it. That's it. Ezekiel Elliott. But Jeff, but what? That's old and comfortable. He's like this dude. I mean, it's like if there were ever such a thing as staying at the same company for 30 years anymore, the Cowboys are that version. They are like the old time clock thing. You just plug in and plug out. That's the Cowboys. That's what it's like. So in an off season full of chaos, an off season full of disruption, it's pretty cool. Dallas needed a spark. Dallas needed a couple more things, man. You can't sit still. You can never sit still. They don't have to blow up their roster. They don't have to blow up their quarterback. Should have blown up the coach, but they don't have to blow up they don't have to blow up much, but do something to energize your franchise. His quarterback, who he loves, you know why? Because he's like, man, that dude punches a clock every day. Dak Prescott, I feel like he's got a lunch pail and he's going to go to work there 35 years. I think he's going to leave, though. His quarterback needed some help. You know what? He needed a little bit of help. To get to the next level, Dallas needed some help. And what have they done in the offseason? What did they do to take pressure off their defense, to take pressure off their quarterback? He had to do something slightly disruptive, and Jerry Jones, the old man, just bought a 2018 Camry. That's what he got. He has a Camry, 2018 Camry. You know what Ezekiel Elliott did last year for the New England Patriots? He's not terrible. He's a nice guy, comes to work every day. Last year, he rushed for 642 yards. He averaged 3.5 yards a carry. Man, that's not much of a disruption, man. That's not even the point of all this. The point of all this is, I mean, is Ezekiel Elliott at this stage in his career terrible? No, he's not terrible. He's not. Is he great? No, but this had zero. On a disruption scale, this has zero disruption. Zero. But that's the real story of this whole signing. And it's hard to rip somebody for being loyal, but when you're in the disruption business and when you're in the win-now business, being disloyal is a problem, a real problem. And I think it shows itself maybe for the final time. I don't know if Dallas, isn't this terrible to say, but everyone's thinking it. I don't know if Dallas, if they don't get that championship in the next 12 months, I'm not sure, if you wanted to bet on it, sadly, you could probably bet, I'm not sure they get it in his lifetime. I think it's becoming pretty obvious. This is not going to do it, man. That team may be good enough that this doesn't matter, but I doubt it. Jerry Jones was giddy. Like, he thinks, I'm sitting here criticizing this, you're going to criticize this. He thinks he's just done something wild and crazy. It's kind of sad. He's giddy about signing Ezekiel Elliott, who was on 1 year in New England. That worked out well, didn't it? What a show that offense was. He said this, and this tells you everything. And it's, it's endearing, I guess, to an extent. Here's what Jerry Jones has said. It's so true. That Camry, right? 2018 Camry. Everyone knows he's one of our favorites. He's laid it on the line for us. Yeah, I guess there was a time. He did. Those good old days, right? You know what that's code for? Everyone knows he's one of our favorites. Everyone knows he's laid it on the line for us. I mean, that is loyal, man. He's going to bring him back because I like you, and you're loyal, and you're a company man, and you're going to show up and go to work every day, and I don't know if you're going to help us a bit. That whole thing is comfortable for, I want to be comfortable. This is comfortable. Mike McCarthy is comfortable. Having Zeke Elliott back in the building is also comfortable.